this is Guy from One Kingdom TV. We're talking with Rick Gilmore. I keep getting myself tongue-tied with your name for some reason. Called you King in the last interview. In the last segment, we were talking about fear and how fear drives people, and Jesus Christ has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity. And Rick, you've got a background in ranching, am I correct, with cattle? And as such, you would be very aware of how to manipulate or steer a herd to get the herd to do what you want to do. So share some of that. We're talking about fear and how people are being driven almost like cattle because they're responding to fear. So what parallels do you see between the way animals are, steered around and often at the end of the day to their slaughter? How does that compare, for example, with what is happening today with how people are being steered in situations?
Well, Guy, you're right. I did. I grew up on a ranch with 600 head of cattle, 200 head of sheep, and 10 or 12 horses, depending on the time. And during each season, you can see the parallels. Jesus came as a shepherd, right? He expressed love for his flock, which are his followers, and when you act in that way around either sheep or cattle, they will respond accordingly. But once you start trying to drive them toward a goal, whether it's like you said to the truck for slaughter, they know something is not right, and they react violently sometimes, and you want to avoid that at all costs. So using those same principles, working in an agricultural environment are critical as well. So yeah, he did set a good example. We just don't follow it a lot as mankind.
Right. You've actually just set quite a beautiful example there of Jesus being the shepherd, which the Bible obviously talks about very clearly. But there is also parallel to that. The Bible tells us that there is a deceiver. And there's a deceiver who is a false voice, and the deceiver who will lie, and the deceiver who will lead people astray. Now, there's a story I wanted to share with you, which they refer to as the Judas goat, that what shepherds would do, this is in the context of this illustration, is when they want to take the sheep to the pen or whatever, they put in what is known as the Judas goat. And the Judas goat will be trained to lead the sheep so that if the shepherd leads the Judas goat, the Judas goat leaves the sheep. And then what happens at the critical moment, the Judas goat steps out of the arena and the sheep end up at their fate. Now, Jesus tells us that my sheep will know my voice. And we need to discern that because in this time of kingdom is at hand. We need to know how to discern the shepherd's voice and not the voice of the Judas goat. Because the voice of the Judas goat, tell me if you can add to this, Rick, but the voice of the Judas goat is the goat of fear. And it drives people like that in our situation. Any further comments or insights? I just find it very profound. The Bible talks about these things, but it's painting just these profound pictures of our relationships and the realities we are in and how applicable it is.
I think what you just said was profound. One of the ways that they train people to spot counterfeit $100 bills is to study the original, to study the $100 bill so that they can spot the counterfeit. And the way that we can learn Jesus' voice is by reading his word, which many people don't do today. But reading his word will allow us to recognize the authentic from the false. And that's a great parallel. We must read his word.